Well, so much has been said about Pistorius' psychological state, but we haven't heard from somebody who's had a close relationship with the accused. Author Melinda Ferguson has written a book in collaboration with the athlete's ex-girlfriend's mother, Trish Taylor. She joins us now to give us an intimate picture of Pistorius' relations with Taylor's family before the death of Reeva Steenkamp. Melinda Ferguson, welcome into studio this morning. Good to have you with us. Now, let's just start off with this. I mean, we saw a very emotional Oscar Pistorius throughout the trial, throughout yesterday as sentence was being delivered. But the world only came to know that side of him after the shooting. What we didn't know until this book is that he was having these emotional problems. He was in some kind of deep emotional turmoil before all of this began.
I think he's always been in emotional turmoil since he was a little boy. So it's a kind of culmination. And my book definitely tracks this. I mean, it's called An Accident Waiting to Happen, and I think it tracks this progressive kind of despair and emotional turmoil that he was going through, and especially at the Olympics. The book really gives insight how he was falling apart. He was phoning the Taylors almost every day, well, actually 24/7, Patricia says, and I think that whole experience really sent him over the edge. And then it wasn't that long after that the accident happened.
I mean, it's interesting, the title, An Accident Waiting to Happen, and those are literally the words of Trish Taylor. Yeah. What gave her the sense that he was so close to the verge of an accident?
He did a lot of things to her daughter that were absolutely reckless. He drove her at unbelievable speeds in cars that were fast cars. Trish was often asking him, please don't speed, he'd promise, and then he would do it again. He did stupid things like light a fire in the lounge and dance around with Sam. I mean, he was always shouting at her towards the end. There were times that Trish heard him screaming on the phone and she was in another room, shouting and shouting at her daughter. Sam is a very small, petite, she's a very shy girl. She was almost able to take Oscar's abuse because she never responded back. And then I think, you know, these were just small examples. And at the point of where she told him he was not to see her daughter anymore, she basically said, you need help. If you don't get help, which he hadn't got, you are like an accident waiting to happen. And that was what happened.
Many people are going to ask, after having read this book, why Trish Taylor never spoke out, if she believes that it even might have saved Reeva Steenkamp's life.
You know, she says in the foreword she wished she had done it, but I think she was terrified. She writes a lot about being scared of Oscar, about being scared of his friends. She was terrified. I mean, she finally plucked up the courage. She asked me if I would spend the next year working with her, and I think she really got to the place where she said, if I don't tell the story, and if he walks free, I will never forgive myself. And it's this day we're going to find out if he walks free or not. And I think this book will give another side to possibly what really happened.
Well, it's very interesting that, I mean, the world knew one particular Oscar Pistorius. She's describing a very different side of him that the rest of us simply never knew. And it seems that the media itself, particularly the sporting media, was so enamored of him at some point that they simply couldn't report objectively on him anymore.
The world was in love with Oscar. He was the symbol of hope, of courage, of the one guy who could do things despite his disability. The Taylors embraced him, they loved him, they took him into the family, but slowly he began to show his other side. Maybe not his true self, because I think there's a part of Oscar that is the lovely guy, that is the generous hero. But then there was the other side, the darker side, that just he couldn't be that part. It was like two sides were operating.
You know, it's opening this book, I expected to read a sort of a lashing out at Oscar. I thought that this was going to be a sort of retributive getting back at him for what he had supposedly done to her daughter, according to what Patricia Taylor tells us. But you start to see a sort of sympathy emerging with this boy who, and starting at that stage when he was a boy, losing his legs, then losing his mother. She seems to empathize with him up to a point.
Well, definitely. And I, as a writer, also empathized. I tried to be open-minded. And there was a lot of the book where I actually really felt sorry for him. I thought he was a victim of the media, that a victim of possibly his team, his management, Everyone was trying to make fast money off Oscar, and he was the perfect vehicle to get that money. I mean, he was headlining all sorts of brands, Nike, all sorts of people were throwing money at him, and I think he got kind of the feeling of being omnipotent, and as a result, people then saw a fast buck and an opportunity to ride on him.
Melinda Ferguson, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning, and that is, of course, Melinda Ferguson, the author of Oscar, An Accident Waiting to Happen. That